Mr. Chair, may I proceed, and may I proceed with a preliminary matter?
You may. Just, I think, as a caution to everyone, if we do stop you, it's probably because we're getting feedback or background noise or something like that, and we're not able to hear properly. So because this is our first attempt, that may come up. I hope not, but we'll see how it goes. So go ahead, Tom. You may proceed.
Yes. So calling the morning docket, the board will be hearing transfer, new applications, transfer hardships, and hardship exceptions. Preliminary matter is case number 4 on the docket. This was Harbor Enterprise Center, LLC, the Broom Factory, 3500 Boston Street is a transfer of the Class B beer, wine, liquor license. It's been postponed. Will be set on a further date. That being said, move to cases for the regular docket. Calling the first case, Alexander Smith, Tagliata Elk Room, LLC, trading as Tagliata Elk Room, Italian Disco, Monterey, 1012 Fleet Street, is an application for ownership with continuation of live entertainment and outdoor table service, requesting to expand premises to include backyard space known as 505 South Exeter Street. And I'm going to now make both Miss Thomas and Mr. Smith should be panelists and have been made panelists.
There are no panelists up, Tom.
Mr. Smith, Ms. Thomas, are you there?
Yes.
I'm here. Yes.
So they've both been made panelists, Mr. Chair. You may not be able to see them, but they've both been made panelists. And at this time, Ms. Thomas, would you like to identify yourself? And I think we have the court reporter just in case you need to swear in Mr. Smith if he's going to be giving testimony.
Mr. Smith? Can you hear me, Mr. Smith?
Yes, I can hear you.
See, I'm not seeing your. Are you on video?
Hold on. Let me. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Can you guys see me now?
Yeah. I just need to swear you in. I will turn my video on. And I'm Tim Madison. I'm the court reporter here. I'm going to place you under oath. Could you raise your right hand, sir? You swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. So, counsel, did you identify yourself for the record already?
Anastasia Thomas Nardangeli. I can spell that if you'd like. Would you like me to spell it? Yes. Okay. It's Anastasia. Thomas, Thomas. Nardangeli is N as in Nancy, ARDANGELI.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Ms. Nardangeli, are you going to proffer or are you going to have Mr. Smith testify?
Well, I was going to give a brief description of our request because it's twofold. It's one for the expansion of the premises, and second is to add an individual to the license and remove the existing individual. So I just wanted to make that clear before I move forward. But yes, I would like Mr. Smith to testify.
That's fine. You may proceed.
Okay. Good morning. So the current license is for use at the Bagby building, and in particular for the addresses known as 1012, 1010, and 101006 Fleet Street, along with the adjacent courtyard and lounge space we are requesting to expand the license to cover an additional 5,714 square feet, which is located in the back of the building. There is a letter that was submitted to the board in connection with the application on February 10th, 2020. So about a week after the application was submitted. That letter explains further why it provides a floor plan in addition to what we submitted with the application, and it explained how this was contiguous to the existing spaces. It's all part of the same restaurant operation, and that's why we're asking to expand this license instead of have a different license for the back of the building. I'm going to let Mr. Smith provide a brief description of the concept that's being added and what it involves, and then we can come back and I can explain what we're asking with regard to the individual named on the license. So Alex, go for it.
Sure. So it's a classic French restaurant, and essentially it's going to have a shared kitchen with the other properties, Tagliata and Elk Room, that are already there. And the entrance actually will be inside in the courtyard area, not on the street, but in the courtyard area where the same entrances for Elk Room and Tagliata are in the courtyard. So it's a shared courtyard space, shared entry space, and then shared back of house space, which is why it makes sense to expand the license and include the French concept into the other concepts, just because it's really the same team that's running it, same kitchen staff, same management staff, etc. So that's why we're looking to expand this.
Okay, and so everyone is who's currently operating your other establishments is going to be doing this, so they're all familiar with our rules and regulations, and they're certified, tip certified.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and under the current circumstances with the virus and whatever, what are your plans? When will it open and all that sort of thing?
So that's a good question. So, we started construction on it in November, and it was set to open before Preakness. So really bad timing.
Mm-hmm.
But what we'll probably do is we'll hold off on opening, I would say, until August or September, let things settle down and figure out where we are with the virus, what the governor is going to come out with occupancy standards and things of that nature. And then hopefully we curb this thing by the end of the summer completely, and we can get back to normal business by, end of summer. And then we would probably open it then.
Okay. And this is going to be a live entertainment license as well?
Yeah, so the restaurant itself, each one of our properties, we try and do something with live entertainment. Tagliata, for instance, does live piano 7 days a week. The Elk Room next door does jazz. So this place we were thinking about doing actually small skits and acting in the restaurant and make it more of like a dinner theater type of experience.
Okay. And how much outdoor table service will there be?
There won't be any outdoor table service for this particular restaurant.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me see if the other commissioners have questions for you.
Commissioner Jones, you have any questions?
Jones, none.
I do have some questions, just for the record, either Mr. Smith or Ms. Thomas. Part of what we need to look at in terms of approving this under the provision of the law is that this applicant is in good standing and has a reputable business practice. I understand that this would be the fourth license Mr. Smith would be on. If you could speak to, based on our records, we don't see any 311 calls being made for all of the restaurants with the exception of the Chop Tank, but understand that the Chop Tank 311 calls were not, did not materialize into violations. Can you just speak to your business practice, your running of restaurants, so that we make sure that that you indeed have a reputable business practice, please, under the statute?
Yeah, sure. So we've been in operation, operated in a number of properties, including the Bygone and Maximon, which we're operating, but licenses aren't necessarily in our name. And we've never had a single violation ever. And we've never had a single incident ever in any of our properties. Fights, violence of any sort, anything. And with the 311 calls at Chop Tank, we, have some upset business neighbors. I believe they've called 311 on us almost 40 times. And it actually becomes a joke when the inspector comes out. She just says hello and passes. There's some crazy people down in that area that just want to give us a hard time. But despite some of the local businesses calling on us, we've never had a violation. So.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
I heard you say the inspector comes out, it becomes a joke. But for the record, the inspector does a thorough job before leaving. Is that correct?
Oh, that's correct. She comes in and looks at the business and counts how many people we have, she or he. But, it's almost become, just for the record, it's almost become borderline harassment from our neighbors. And, it's gotten to a point where it's become, when we were operating, it was almost obscene. And I feel bad for the inspector because the inspector is trying to, just answer the calls because you guys are required to come out because of 311. But it was happening on a 4 or 5 time a week occasion in some weeks. And there was never any violations to be found because there were no violations. And it's just sad that that's the use of city resources when there could be other things that are in violation that the inspector could be tending to.
Yeah, to add to that, I just like to say that anything that's been brought to my attention as the attorney is something that it did not appear that there was even any evidence or reason for anyone to be calling 311 except to cause a burden or a nuisance to the actual restaurant because
we actually looked at taking legal action at some of the people that were doing this because it's harassment is basically what it is.
And all of the restaurants Alex is either operating or in which Alex has an ownership interest have security guards present. They have a security plan in place. There is a very large emphasis placed on the safety and the welfare of the patrons and the community in which any of these restaurants are located.
I appreciate that response. Thank you, Ms. Thomas and Mr. Smith. And as you know, the communities are going to be obviously continue to watch your operations in light of this pending transaction and you getting on another license. But can you just speak to your community outreach on this new concept? I know you're not necessarily expanding, but you're sort of changing or adding a concept. Any outreach to those in the neighborhood?
Well, I will say that the Bagby building is located within the boundaries of the urban renewal plan for Inner Harbor East. Alex has a working relationship with the developer of that urban renewal plan, and he has spoken extensively with the developer and has the support of the developer, H&S Properties, with regard to this expansion and the Bagby building restaurants in general. So, Alex, do you want to speak?
No, yeah. In addition to Harbor East, I mean, we do a great job of trying to just be members of the Little Italy community as well, even though we're not in that community. I'm in constant contact with Gia and Sergio Vitale and Nino and everybody else in that neighborhood, and we've got a great working rapport together. And it's one of a supportive nature. And even through these times, we're all doing things to support each other. So we've got a great working relationship with the community.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Ms. Nardangeli, you said that you had some legal issues you wanted to raise.
Oh, I wanted to request that Matthew Smith, who is the individual currently named on the license, be removed and replaced by Alexander Smith, who is currently on the phone with us. Matthew was added as the Baltimore City resident for the license. At the time, we had asked Matthew to do that because he was living near the restaurant. He has a family relationship with Alex, and he had a 1% interest in the company. We'd like to, the members, Alex and David Smith, who each previously had a 49.5% ownership in the company, are now seeking to remove Matthew as a member entirely, so that then membership would be changed to Alex owning 50% and David owning 50%. And that's why we want to have Alex, who is a Baltimore City resident, become the individual named on the license.
Okay. And was
And
there,
we wanted to put the board on notice because there is going to be a change in ownership involving individuals who will have 50% ownership. So David and Alex will go from 49.5% each to 50% each ownership.
and was there a second issue?
Well, nope, that's it. Just replacing Matthew with Alex and putting the board on notice that we're changing the ownership and requesting approval for such. We didn't actually change the ownership yet because we wanted to seek the board's approval before doing so.
Okay. Commissioners have questions on those issues?
I have no questions.
None.
So you're not asking us to take action with respect to that at this time, just on the application for transfer?
That's right. So we're not asking to transfer. I guess it's a transfer in the sense that we're asking to change the individual. We're not transferring it from one entity to a new entity. We're just asking to change Matthew as the individual and add Alex as the individual.
Is there anything you want to present? Council or Mr. Smith, anything further?
Oh, nope.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Thank you. Commissioners, anything else?
Nothing. Jones.
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Chair, at this time, may I ask out if there's any witness in the public gallery that would like to speak?
Certainly.
At this time, if there's any member of the public who would like to speak, would you please use the raise your hand function? If not, I see I've reviewed all the attendees. There are 23 attendees who called in. I see no one raising their hand to speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And thank you all for being the inaugural effort on this. I think it's so far working well. On the basis of the materials that are contained in the application that you've submitted to the board, on the basis of the testimony and the proffers from counsel received today, and the documents that are in evidence, I would vote to approve the transfer of ownership to removing Matthew Smith from the on the license and replacing him with Alex Smith, and with of live entertainment, outdoor table service, although I think we indicated no outdoor table service, and expanding the premises to include the backyard space known as 505 South Exeter Street.
Jones. I also approved the application to transfer ownership with continuation of live entertainment and outdoor table service. Also to expand the premises to include backyard space known as 505 East Exeter Street.
So I join my colleagues and based on the evidence and the proffers by counsel, find that the applicant is in good standing and does maintain a reputable business practice. For those reasons, I would vote to approve the transfer of ownership, removing Matthew Smith and replacing him with Alex Smith, along with the continuation of live entertainment and approving the ability to expand premises to include backyard space known as 505 South Exeter Street.
So, thank you all. The application is approved, and I know Mr. Smith spoke to this, but for all of our people that we approved today, if and when you open, we'll expect that you comply with state and local regulations and requirements relating to the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And of note, usually at the end of a transfer hearing, we would give you some documentation regarding that the transfer was approved and any information that you need to further provide. We will be mailing that to you. Ms. Thomas will be mailing that to your offices as the attorney representing Mr. Smith, okay?
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exhibits, Ms. Russell?
Sorry, no exhibits.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Calling the next case. It's going to be Robert Cleaves and Yogesh Kumar Prasi, Proppy Deep LLC. This is trading as Jerry's Liquors, 2200 North Charles Street. This is an application to transfer ownership of a Class A beer, wine, and liquor restaurant license. I believe Mr. Boozer represents this individual, and I'm looking for Mr. Cleaves. I see Mr. Cleaves, and then a Mr. Prasai, and I see Mr. Prasai as well. I believe all three individuals are coming online as panelists. Mr. Boozer, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Mr. Cleaves, are you there?
Yes, I'm present.
Mr. Prasai, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I think you're slowly coming online. I can see you, Mr. Boozer. Okay, and everybody's coming online. Mr. Court Reporter?
Yes. So I need video for these people in, correct?
Say that again, sir.
I need I need to be able to see them to swear them in, correct?
Yes, they should be. You should pan through. Mr. Prasai, Mr. Cleaves, your video is not yet coming up. So, there's Mr. Prasai right there. Mr. Cleaves, can you?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you turn your video on, sir?
There you go.
There we go. Okay. If you both could raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
You need them to spell their names?
No, if the spellings are correct under their pictures, then I'm good to go.
Okay. Mr. Boozer, you want to identify yourself for the record?
For the record, Mr. Chairman, Frank Boozer on behalf of the applicants.
Good morning. You going to proffer to us what's...
Yes, I will. Especially as the board would note, this is the second time this application's been heard by the board. The first time the identical application was approved on July 18th, 2019, and nothing has changed in terms of the application nor the business operation.
So can you remind us what was involved?
Yes, of course. This location, of course, is 2200 North Charles Street. It's Jerry's Liquors, which is a small sandwich shop right on the corner of 22nd and Charles Street. It's been there for as long as I've been around, and from my knowledge, close to 70 years. It's a small sandwich shop and liquor store combined for neighborhood service. The reason that the application failed to consummate the first time were some tax issues and some inspection issues that we have since worked out. It was the holidays, and we thought we would reapply. Mr. Prasai has been in the operation, working hand in hand with the seller during this time. The seller's been very gracious to permit that, but of course, the hours of the store are from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. currently. They usually are 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Of course, Mr. Prasai, with the help of the seller, has been privy to the communications from the board, and they're doing everything they can in keeping with the board's new guidance regarding the COVID-19 virus and the regulation that been promulgated by the Department of the Health of the state of Maryland. So again, The board had approved this application before and nothing has changed. That's all I have to proffer at this time.
Tell me a little bit about Mr. Cleves and Mr. Prasad.
Mr. Prasad has worked in the liquor store business for a number of years, and this is his first go at his own store. At the stores he's worked at before, he's never had any violations or any problems. Mr. Cleves is the resident licensee. He will not operate the store nor go to the store, but he understands he's still a responsible licensee. The license will comply with any of the board's wishes.
And does Mr. Prasad have other employees who handle alcohol?
Not this time, but that'll change in the future. And I haven't the need to have every employee handles alcohol to be TAM certified.
Okay. Do the commissioners have any questions?
I just have one. Jones, have there been any communication with the community association?
Yes, we contacted the community under some of the charges of the association. They were aware of my client. In fact, they see him on a daily basis. So we had gained approval in contact with the board before, with the Charles Village Community Association before.
Were there any agreements?
There was no MOU signed. They thought it was necessary to sign any agreement as it operate as it had operated during the past 30 or 40 years.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, Mr. Boozer?
Mr. Greenfield, I like the beard.
Do you? Yeah, I figured I'd grow it out. It's the first time, but you don't need to compliment me to get a vote. But thank you, Mr. Boozer.
Thank you. That'll be all, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. On the basis that the materials contained in the application,
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman, I apologize, sir. May I please call out to the audience?
That's fine. I was sorry.
Is there anybody in the audience right now, any of the attendees who would like to speak on this matter? I see none, Mr. Chair.
No response. Did you say no response?
No response, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, then on the basis then of the materials contained in the application and the proffers from counsel, as well as the testimony and whatever was back in July of 2015 when this application was initially approved, I would vote to approve the application to transfer ownership.
I also approve the application to transfer ownership. Jones.
I join my colleagues in approving the transfer for ownership. Good luck.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No exhibits.
And Mr. Boozer, again, we will be sending you by letter all the documents you need to complete the transfer.
I'll look for it. Thank you.
No exhibits for the record.
Thank you. Next case, Mr. Akers.
Yes, sir. Just 1 second. Removing the. All right. Next case. Mark Hansen Jr., Neil Shavitz, and Russell Sapola. This is Copper Shark LLC, trading as Copper Shark LLC, 921 East Fort Avenue, Unit 135. This is an application to transfer ownership, requesting outdoor table service, live entertainment, off-premise catering, and delivering of alcoholic beverages for Class B7 beer, wine, and liquor license. I'm going to bring in the attorney, which is Ms. Hecker, and all of the licensee applicants. I believe all of the applicants, Mr. Hansen, Mr. Shavitz, Capola, and Ms. Hecker should all be panelists right now.
Good morning. Yes, Caroline Hecker here on behalf of the applicant.
Good morning. You want to identify yourself for the record, Ms. Hecker, and then we'll swear them?
Yes, Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin Greenberg on behalf of Copper Shark. I think we have with us our 3 individual licensee applicants, Mark Hansen, Neil Shafitz, and Russell Sipola.
Okay.
If I can remind everyone, when they come on, can you please turn on your video?
Can you see me? I'm trying to figure out if my video is on or not.
No, I don't see your video, Ms. Hecker. There's at the bottom of the screen. There it is.
I think I got it. Yep.
All right. Would the reporter please swear the 3 gentlemen?
Gentlemen, can you raise your right hands? You swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief.
I do.
I do.
Mr. Hansen, can you unmute your mic and give me a verbal response?
Sorry, I do.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Hecker, you want to make a proper for us?
Yes, please. You should have received a series of exhibits that I sent over to the liquor board's offices earlier this week. Do you have those? Okay.
We did. They were sent to us by email.
Great. All right. Well, this is an application to approve the transfer of ownership of a BD7 license located at 921 East Ford Avenue, Unit 135. It's just the transfer of ownership, same location. The licensed premises is the first floor space in a redeveloped 3-story historic building in Locust Point known as the Foundry on Ford Avenue. Exhibit A in the file of exhibits that you should have should show a couple of aerial images and a street view photo of the space. It's located within the 921 Ford Avenue planned unit development that was adopted by City Council Ordinance 03-527. You should have a copy of that as Exhibit B in the file as well. This is the space that was the former home of the Wine Market Bistro, which operated from 2004 until 2018. It was rebranded in 2018 as Ludlow Market. Ludlow Market was only in business for about 5 months. You'll see Exhibit C in the file is an article from the Baltimore Business Journal about the closing of Ludlow Market. The former licensee filed a hardship extension application in May of 2019. And then in October of last year, the landlord took control of the license as secured creditor. And the landlord then filed an application to transfer ownership to a landlord entity in November of last year, and then subsequently entered into a lease with the present applicant. And so we have amended the transfer application to now transfer the license to the proposed tenant, the Copper Shark. Copper Shark is a new restaurant concept from Mid-Atlantic Eateries, which is a company that's been in business for about 19 years. They currently operate 5 restaurants in the Maryland and Virginia area. The Copper Shark is a new concept. It has a bourbon theme. The idea is to create a cozy old world feel. The name Copper Shark is derived from a copper still that will be located in the bar area. The copper still has been nicknamed the Shark. It's decorative, it's not operational. But you'll see some interior renderings of the space as Exhibit D in the file that you should have. The goal of the restaurant is to produce a high-end chef-inspired menu, but at an approachable price point where the customers can be regulars and not think of the place as a special event restaurant. The menu specializes in charcuterie, cheese and sausage boards, fresh baked bread, and homemade desserts. Exhibit E in the file is the conceptual menu. They will have an old world craft cocktail bar that will include handmade mixers, bitters, and garnishes. But the concept is intended to be a restaurant first with the nice craft cocktail bar as an amenity. The floor plan is Exhibit F in the file that you should have. The space is just under 4,400 square feet. It will have seating for approximately 212 guests. There are about 130 indoor seats, plus 22 seats at the bar and 60 seats on the outdoor patio. They propose to offer lunch and dinner service daily, as well as weekend brunch. They'll operate Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. They may close earlier on weeknights as demand dictates, but that's what they're proposing to operate right now. Live entertainment is permitted by right at this location. They intend it to complement the dining experience, not to be a concert venue. They may have small acoustic bands or jazz ensembles, particularly brunch on Sundays. Mr. Hansen, who's one of our individual licensee applicants who's here today, he will oversee the day-to-day operations of the restaurant. He's been in the restaurant business for 25 years, starting as a kitchen manager at Outback Steakhouse. He's been with Mid-Atlantic Eateries for 14 years, and he is now the Director of Operations for all 5 of their current locations. Our alcohol policy is included as Exhibit G in the file that you have, and our policy is to card every individual who orders an alcoholic beverage, and all of our managers, bartenders, and servers will be tip certified. The restaurant represents approximately $1 million in capital investment in the city, and it will result in the creation of approximately 40 to 45 full and part-time jobs. We're planning to open in the late summer, early fall. Obviously, that is up in the air, subject to change given the current public health emergency. When we do open, we will accommodate the new social distancing guidelines by offering curbside pickup. We'll probably space our tables a little farther apart and use plexiglass partitions. Our individual licensee applicants who are all present here today, as I mentioned, Mr. Hansen will be responsible for the day-to-day operations. Mr. Chaffetz is here as well. He recently joined Mid-Atlantic Eateries and is their controller. He most recently worked in the real estate business. And Mr. Cipolla, who is also here, is our Baltimore City resident licensee. He's been a Baltimore City resident for over 9 years. While he will not be involved in the day-to-day operation of the restaurant, he does have extensive experience in the food service industry and is the senior vice president of a food consulting business. All 3 of them are familiar with the rules and regulations of the liquor board and agree to abide by them. With regard to the public need and desire for the license, this is a space that has been a restaurant for nearly 20 years. The vacancy has been noticed by everyone. It's been detrimental to the neighborhood. The space is not located in the middle of the residential part of Locust Point. It is in a commercial area. We have reached out to the Locust Point Civic Association. We have not heard any objections from them. We don't believe that there will be any impact on the number or location of existing licensees. This is, again, a space that has operated as a restaurant for many years. We're not adding any new licenses to this area. But in that vein, it does offer a uniqueness of services in that it is the only full-service restaurant in the Foundry on Ford development. We don't expect there to be any negative impact on general health, safety, and welfare of the community. As I said, this is not located in the heart of a residential area, and there has long been a restaurant at this location. So for all of these reasons, we would request that the board approve the transfer of ownership for the BD7 license, and obviously we're all here to answer any questions that the board has.
Well, thank you for that very comprehensive summary. Do the commissioners have questions?
I do not.
Jones, none.
Okay. Well, then thank you. Mr. Ackers, you want to see comments?
Yes. Is there anyone who is an attendee listening in who would like to make any comments or give testimony on this case? Mr. Chair, there has been no response to anyone who raised their hand to speak.
All right. Ms. Becker, was there any relationship with the Locust Point community organizations or anything?
I'm sorry, say again?
Has there been any communication with community organizations at Locust Point?
Yes, we have reached out to the Locust Point Civic Association to know about the pending transfer. They have not held a meeting recently, obviously, with the COVID-19 situation, but we did let them know that they have not expressed any objection to the transfer.
Okay, thank you. All right, on the basis of the application, the exhibits that have been submitted in support of the application, the proffer from council, and any testimony received, I would vote to approve the application to transfer ownership with outdoor table service, live entertainment, off-premise catering, and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Jones, I also approve the application to transfer ownership with continuation of outdoor table service. Also approve the live entertainment, off-premises catering, and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Based on the proffer by council, I too would approve the transfer of ownership with outdoor table service, live entertainment, off-premise catering, and delivery of alcoholic beverages. Good luck.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Very much. Ms. Russell?
My phone exhibits for the record. Applicant Exhibit 1, Business Plan Exhibits A through G.
Ms. Hecker, will you be taking the next case, the Motor House case as well?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll be calling the next case, which is Victoria Munoz and Jessica Solomon, North Avenue Arts LLC, trading as Motor House, 120 North Avenue. This is a request for a transfer hardship extension under the provisions of the Alcoholic Beverages Article 1217B for a Class D beer, wine, liquor license. Just give me a moment so I can bring up those parties. Okay, Ms. Solomon, Ms. Munoz, if you could please turn on your video footage. That way you can be seen and sworn in.
I'm here.
I'm Tim Atkinson in the court reporter. If you both could please raise your right hands. You swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief.
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
So Ms. Hecker, we have a letter from you dated March 5, 2020, requesting a hardship extension. Is this a 180-day request?
Yes, it is. 80 days, I believe, would have expired on March 10th. In this case, the board approved the transfer of the license from Amy Bonnetz, who was the former president and CEO of the Baltimore Arts Realty Corporation, Barco, which is the parent company of North Avenue Arts LLC, which holds this license. Ms. Bonnetz moved on from Barco last summer. She resigned, and so we applied to transfer the license to two new individual licensees, Jessica Solomon and Victoria Munoz, who are both here today. The board approved the transfer of the license on September 12th of last year. It was treated as a transfer of ownership, even though there was no technical ownership transfer because of the individual licensees changing. And we, after the board approved the transfer, we started working on the checklist items and discovered a number of issues that have caused delays in completing the transfer. We learned, for instance, that the health permit that we had was still in the name of a caterer that had formerly operated in the space. We have subsequently applied for a new health permit. We're in the process of having inspections done, but those obviously have been delayed because of the COVID-19 situation. We also discovered a number of errors in the way that sales and use taxes were reported for North Avenue Arts LLC. Those resulted in a hold from the comptroller's office on the transfer of the license. We are in the process of remedying those as well. But unfortunately, we were not able to get all of these things resolved prior to the expiration of the 180-day period on March 10th. So we filed for an extension under Section 1217.05B. We are still diligently pursuing the transfer, but our ability to complete it is obviously being complicated further by the current public health emergency. And while I think this probably would fall within the category of deadlines that are suspended pursuant to the governor's executive order, I think out of an abundance of caution, with an extension of time to complete it.
Okay, thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions?
No, Jones.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Tom, do you want to see if anybody else has any issues?
If I may ask, if there are any attendees that are present that would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand, use the raise your hand option. Mr. Chair, Judge, seeing none, nobody wants to chime in on this from the members of the public.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Then, Ms. Hecker, on the basis of the letter which you sent to the board on March 5, requesting the hardship extension, and your proffer this morning, I would vote to grant 180-day hardship extension.
John speaking. I too approve the request for a transfer hardship extension.
I join my colleagues based on the proffered by council. I too would approve a transfer hardship extension of 180 days.
Hope that turns out to be enough. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, if I may, I apologize. This is a transfer hardship extension, so it's an additional 90 days, not to exceed 270. So, but with the deadlines and timelines, it will be longer than that because things are tolling, but the commission can only grant additional 90 days, not to exceed 270.
Okay, so my grant is amended to be the 90 days, and then we'll see how that plays out.
Thank you.
I concur with the chairman, a 90-day.
I concur also.
All right, thank you.
And if I may, Ms. Hecker, do you have any more cases? I believe that's it for you, correct?
I do not. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything on that matter?
There are no exhibits. Assistant Executive Secretary, Ms. Russell, got kicked off. She's logging back on right now, but she told me to tell you that there were no exhibits for the record. Oh, there she is.
Back on, no exhibits. Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next case then.
Next case is Joanne and Filipos Ilitis, Erlos LLC, trading as Plaka Tavern, 4714 through 18 Eastern Avenue. This is an application of transfer ownership, requesting delivery services for alcoholic beverages of a class BD7 license. I'll just pull up, I'm going to pull up the relevant parties.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Henry Priebus, applicants Joanna Priebus and Philip List.
What did that boy? Good morning, Mr. Priebus. There was background noise. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you could hear it too.
Okay.
And there's Joanna. And is Philip with you, Joanna?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and there's Philip.
So are they visible now?
Yes, I have them up on the panel list.
Okay, I'll ask her to swear them.
Mr. Court Reporter, can you put them in?
Oh, never mind. I turned my stuff off, not on. Okay, now all the witnesses, please raise their right hands, please. Swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct, thus your knowledge, information, and belief.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ackers, can you change the exhibit on the monitor?
Yes, I can. I apologize.
That's okay. You have a lot to do today. Okay, Mr. Priebus, you want to tell us about this application?
Yeah, this is a transfer of ownership and a request to add delivery of alcohol to the license. Essentially, this is a Greek restaurant in Greektown. They're not changing too much from business. They're going to liven it up a bit and modernize Greek restaurant there. They were talking about adding breakfast bar as soon as they can open, or if there's any demand for it. There's going to be no change in capacity or anything else in the business. The first floor is mostly just going to be for the restaurant. They'll have a service bar. And then upstairs is a space for private parties, sort of a banquet hall. And their hours are going to be 11 a.m. to midnight, unless there's some sort of private party going on upstairs that would go on later. And Philip Glistis is going to be the manager, and he's going to oversee the day-to-day.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
They have reached out to the community association. Okay, you hear me now?
Yes, you said Mr. Glissis? Is that how you say his name, Glissis?
Yes.
He's going to manage the operation?
Yes, he'll be there every day.
And what is his background?
He's been working
at a restaurant.
I'm sorry. One at a time, please.
Sorry. I'm actually a manager at G&M Restaurant.
I only caught the end of that.
I'm sorry. I'm actually a manager at G&M Restaurant.
Okay, and how long have you been there?
I've been there for about 19 years.
Okay. And you are familiar with our rules and regulations?
Yes.
And the people who handle alcohol in this establishment will be tip certified?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, this is a little confusing to do it this way, but thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Sorry to say something about the community organization.
Yes, the applicants reached out to the Greektown Community Association, and the community association is excited about this project and can't wait for them to open.
Okay. Anything further?
No.
Commissioners?
No question. Jones.
No, I'd only comment, I assume you're going to abide by obviously all the COVID-19 restrictions and, how that plays into your opening and all of that. I think is very critical, but thank you for your testimony and the information proffered from council.
Thank you.
Mr. Akers, do you want to see if anyone else has comments?
Yes, sir. If there are any attendees present who wish to provide testimony on this application, can you please use the raise your hand function? Mr. Chair, no one seems to raise their hand to want to speak about this matter.
Okay. Well, we'll proceed then. So on the basis that it's contained in the application, the proffer from council and testimony received today, I would approve the application to transfer ownership requesting delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Jones speaking. I also approve the application to transfer ownership and the request for delivery of alcoholic beverages.
I too would approve the transfer of ownership with the delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Good luck to you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And Mr. Previs, just a heads up, you will be receiving by mail information on the next steps and what needs to be done to complete the transfer.
Okay, thank you.
No
Mr.
exhibits.
Previs, is it my understanding? Sorry, I apologize, Ms. Russell.
That's okay. No exhibits in this case.
Mr. Previs, is it my understanding that you are going to be representing the last case, the Holiday Inn matter?
That would be this, Mr. Previs. Thank you.
Okay, the other Mr. Previs. Got it. Okay. I will call that case, and then I will bring in all those parties. Case Jeffrey Colsar and Robert Flynn III, Associates LLC, as Holiday Inn, Baltimore Harbor, 301 West Lombard Street. This is Class B, beer, wine, liquor, hotel, motel license, an application to transfer ownership, requesting off-premise catering and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Tom, will you change the exhibit, please?
Yes, sir. Robert. And I would ask Mr. Flynn and Mr. Colsar to please turn on their video.
Tom, the other exhibit's still up.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Previous, you want to identify yourself for the record?
Thank you. Do we have Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Previs on behalf of the applicants.
Good afternoon. I ask the reporter to swear the applicants, please.
And the witnesses, please raise your right hands. Swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief.
I do.
Did we get Mr. Flynn?
His video is off, or his audio is not working.
And all those who are not going to be giving testimony, mute their phones, please. Thank you.
So, did we ever get Mr. Flynn?
Can you hear me?
There he goes.
Okay. Were you sworn, sir?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And you agreed to tell the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Mr. Previs, you want to proceed?
Thank you. I am filling in for Mr. Kudensky today, who is under the weather. This application is an application for transfer of ownership. It's a little bit of an unusual situation wherein the entity IHMD Associates LLC is one of the co-receivers. There is a receivership order dated January 16, 2019 from the Circuit Court for Baltimore City, appointing a receiver, and what the paragraphs little Roman 1 through 4, the liquor license previously held by PMD Beverage Services LLC is to be transferred to the receiver. Mr. Colasar is from GF Management. He has the hospitality industry and is overseeing the receivership operation of the Holiday Inn until it is ultimately transferred to an end user. Mr. Flynn is a member of the Maryland Bar and is a Baltimore City resident and has agreed to go on this license. Again, this entity is a receiver. It's not involved in this operation for the purpose of running its own business to make a profit. It's being pursued in order to exercise its duties under the receivership.
So it's being held as an asset in the receivership.
I'm sorry, sir.
License is being held as an asset in the receivership.
Yes, sir.
It's not going to be in operation.
The hotel is in operation. It's just being operated pursuant to the receivership.
Okay. And who's operating it now?
It is fully staffed. The operation of the hotel has not changed whatsoever. Everyone that handles alcohol is fully qualified and certified. Mr. Clark is in the Philadelphia area, and he has a total management staff as if it was not under a receivership, and he frequently visits running smoothly. So we would request that this transfer at the time license being held in the name of
Mr. Previs, there's a lot of background noise coming from your computer.
I'm sorry, sir. Is that any better?
That's much better.
Well, okay, I turned the volume down. I'm sorry.
Yeah, please turn the volume down a little bit. I apologize.
Are you still there?
That you can hear me? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think I said everything that I needed to say, unless it was too much feedback and you didn't hear something. We most respectfully ask that you approve this application. Like I said, this place will be run as if there is no receiver, fully managed. At some point, it will be transferred to a purchaser once the receivership is terminated.
For clarity, this is John. Who would be responsible for that operation now? Could you give me a name, please?
Well, Mr. Colasar is ultimately responsible. and he has a full management team, and he can advise the board with regard to his management and everything else. If you would like to hear from him, Mr. Jones.
I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner Greenfield, have any questions?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ackers, you want to see if anyone else has comments?
I'm just checking the attendees now. For all the individuals or attendees, if you please use your raise your hand function if you would like to provide testimony in this case. Mr. Chairman, I do not see any individual attendees who have raised their hand to speak in this case.
Okay.
This is the court reporter. I just need to verify the attorneys' names because I see Peter Priebus, but it's obviously two attorneys. I just need first names for them.
Okay. My name is Peter A. Priebus, Prevas.
Thank you, sir. And who was
The
your
application was initially filed by Mr. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, sir. Who was your co-counsel on the case before that?
He's asking about Harry Priebus, I think.
The previous case was Harry Priebus.
Harry. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm filling in for Mr. Kodensky, Kodenski.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So on the basis of the materials contained in the application, the proper explanation by counsel with respect to receivership, I would vote to approve the application to transfer ownership, requesting off-premise catering and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Jones, I also approve the application to transfer ownership, requesting off-premises catering and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Based upon the proffers of counsel and the court order naming this entity as the receiver, I would approve this transfer of ownership with the off-premise catering and delivery of alcoholic beverages.
Thank you, Priebus.
Thank you.
Ms. Russell.
Exhibits.
Mr. Priebus, you will be mailed a copy of documentation showing what things are necessary for your applicant to complete the transfer application.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. And with that,
before we close, I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Ackers, and all the staff at the Liquor Board for the work that went into being to do these hearings on a virtual basis today. I think that we were able to do it successfully, and I hope we will be able to continue for as long as we do so. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Chair. And with that, the board will be in recess until May 21st, 2020 at 11 a.m. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to call our office 410-396-4377 from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Thank you, and we are adjourned.